Hello. Hello. Welcome to Monday's show, July 8th of the Good Sex Talk Show. We have about 2 minutes before everyone joins us. I'm going to put some music on while we wait and just wait for everyone to come on in. I hope you've read the title and what today's topic is going to be all about. Hello. And as you come in, please put your name and your city, your location, your country, so I can say hi to you and welcome you to the show. I would love to welcome you to the show, so please give me that opportunity. Awesome. So this is episode number 5. So I think that should be definitely celebrated. Yay. Episode number 5. It's been exciting. Let's see here. What am I looking for? All right. Hello. I think it's this one I've been playing. Yes. Oh no. I'm trying to do the thing where you pin the comment. I did it the first night and now it's like, I can't seem to be able to do it the second time. All right, so we're about a minute in here. I was trying to figure, how do you do this? Do you like hold it? No, that's not how you do it. I'm not sure how to do it exactly. That's all right. Okay, so we've given ourselves time to wait here a little bit. Just to let you guys know, I'll be looking down at the screen. I have my laptop in front of me where I'll be pulling up the article today. So welcome to the Good Sex Talk Show with Coach Yema. I am here to set you free from lies and take you into truth in both your spirituality and your sexuality. I am also the author of the book same titled, Same Sex. It is a single woman's guide to supernatural sexual wholeness. If you haven't grabbed it yet, please go ahead and grab that. A lot of the truths that I'll be teaching and talking about as we're on the show are in here. And if you would like to have, hello, welcome. If you would like to have a session with me, if you buy this book, you will get a free 50-minute breakthrough session with me on a phone call if you purchase the book. So, author of this book, Coach Yema, also obviously host of the Good Sex Talk Show. So today, what we're going to be talking about is the indictment of Jefferey Epstein. I believe that's how you say his name. So if you're unaware of the article or the issue that's going on, I posted it today. It's on my timeline. It's on my feed on the page. And what has happened is that Jeffrey Epstein, hello, welcome. Please put your name down in the comment below so I can say hi to you. So Jeffrey Epstein has been indicted on 2 counts of sex trafficking. He is a billionaire living in Florida who is friends with Donald Trump. Maybe friends is a strong term, but he's acquainted with them. He's seen in pictures with them. With Donald Trump, President Clinton, so has all of these high-powered political figures that he has in his sphere. And so this billionaire in Florida, who lives both in Florida and then also in New York, he was arrested yesterday when he got off of his private jet in New York, coming from a couple of weeks from Paris, was arrested on these 2 counts of sex trafficking. And what happened 10 years ago was he was tried for very similar things in Florida and got this crazy plea deal that said that he was sentenced to 18 months in prison. If he were to plead guilty to it, he wouldn't be charged federally. So it would only be a state charge. He would do 18 months. He ended up doing 13 months for, I believe, 6 hours of every day that he was supposedly in prison. He had like a work relief program thing going on. Hey, Sharita. He had like a work relief program thing going on. And so he actually didn't even stay, like 10 years ago when he had these charges, didn't actually stay in prison. And so now New York is saying that was Florida's deal. We want to go ahead and charge him. Now, the crimes that they're charging him for are from between 2002 and 2005. And so here's what he's been up to. And by the way, if you'd like to join me on the live video here, and so we can have a live conversation, there is a green button down at the bottom of the screen. Go ahead and hit that for all of my live viewers. For my replay viewers, please go ahead and comment. I do go back in the comments when the show is over and respond to comments. So don't think because you're not able to watch me live that you can't also interact with me. And also know that I'm here every weekday at 10 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, which is also midnight on the East Coast. So it's like our late night sweet delectable hour where we get to discuss things and not worry about who's like listening to us and judging our conversations and all of that stuff, because it can get kind of dicey, or you want to be super careful about watching certain things during the daytime, but it's the nighttime, so we can have a good time. So now what he's being charged with is that he has been sexually abusing young women, young girls, underage girls under the age of 18. And what he's been doing is he's been like, it starts off where he used to, I'm not sure if he's still doing it. Now, they arrested him in New York, went to his town or his brownstone in New York and found a bunch of nude photos of young women. And he literally labeled it girl nude pics. Like, so crazy. He's not married, doesn't have any kids. And they arrested him and found that what he was doing, what he's been accused of doing and indicted on these charges, is that he would call young girls as young, younger than 14, but as young as 14 as well, come into his home to give him massages. And then it would progress into fondling, masturbation, and then where he would just full on abuse the girls. And the worst part of it all is that he would have the young women, hey Sam, he would have the young women these young girls, I don't want to say young women because I don't want us thinking that these are 18-year-old and older. These are all younger than 18-year-old girls, children that he was inviting into his home to have this sexual experience and abuse, the sexual crime with them. When he was indicted 10 years ago, he was forced to register as a sex offender, so he did do that. But he would have these young girls come into his home and then ask the young girls themselves, these children, to go out into to their friends and recruit other young women, young girls, to come in, and he had this whole network of underage girls that were in and out of his home, both in Florida and in New York. And so all of this was going on, and then I'm sure he had like other friends. The articles that I read didn't really mention those things, but that's what he was doing. He's 66 years old. He's a hedge fund manager, and now there are other cases of women coming out and saying, I was a young girl at the time when he did this to me. Like, now, does any of this sound familiar at all? Right? R. Kelly. Where are we as a society that, now I know child pornography and pedophilia has been around for probably ever. Interesting enough, we'll talk about this later, but interesting enough, I went in the Bible to look for cases of like what would happen if what was the crime or what was the result, as far as the Bible was concerned, if a child was sexually abused. And I didn't find a lot of it, but we're going to talk through that. But we have over and over in society, and I think moms of teenage girls, preteens as well, don't really think that it'll ever happen to them. But here's the scary thing about this story, right? So it wasn't like an old creepy man in a van trying to find young girls and steal them. They were girls their age, right? And most of the sex trafficking that happens in the United States, the girls that enter into sex trafficking, they start at between 12 to 14. And the stats say mostly they either have been sexually maybe abused or molested at home, rejected at home, runaways and all these different things, and they enter into the sex trafficking world between those ages. And so it was those ages, and it's 12 and 14, their friends are coming to them and saying, hey, do you want to go over to this guy's house? And what I didn't mention before is that Jeffrey was paying the girls. Like, they had like a finder's fee, which is why it's being considered sex trafficking. They had, the young girls had a finder's fee. Like, if you come with me, he'll pay me. Like, he would pay them for the massages and pay them to sexually abuse them, and then have them go out to get other young girls their ages. And then even more to the story is that just like how R. Kelly would do, the people on staff for Jeffrey would make sure that young girls were available for him when he landed at his mansions. Like, his home in New York cost $77 million. I mean, he's a billionaire, so he has money, whatever. And so that's a whole nother conversation where people would just do anything for money. That you would set up young girls, and now maybe you didn't have kids yourself, but sure enough, you had nieces and nephews. Sure enough, you knew another young child or knew someone that you loved around those ages, that you would put them in those situations. Like, what were you thinking? So all of the adults, not even just Jeffrey, the adults that were working for him would have these young girls available for him when he arrived. And so you have the staff working on it. You have the young girls who have already been abused working on it, going out and getting a finder's fee for getting these girls to come in. And I think what I really want to highlight today and really talk about is the fact that I have a signature program, coaching program, for mothers of teenage girls. So this is why this story really, I really felt it was necessary to highlight it and for us to talk about it, because we think, and I wouldn't say naively, but we're not fully aware of how our children could become vulnerable to situations like this, because we're thinking it's coming from the outside, right? We're thinking it's coming from a scary person in the van or a stranger, when it's actually coming from friends that look like them, hang out where they hang out. Probably their parents know each other. This happens all the time. I remember I was living my last place before I bought this house, where I was living, like on a Saturday morning or something. I was hanging out in my bed, and my window faced, it was a townhome. So the bedroom window was on the front of the townhome, and the sidewalk was right there. And a young girl, now these were older age girls, so they were 18 and over, a young woman comes over to my neighbor, who's around 19, 20, comes over to my neighbor and is asking her if she wants to go participate, basically like if she wanted to be a prostitute with her, like go to these parties and do these things, and this was the money you could make, like rolled up on her on the bike. And she like knew the girl from the neighborhood, but that's how the landscape of how people get into sex trafficking, like it's such a crazy underworld that's happening right now. I believe in Denver, Colorado, where I live in Colorado, the economic wealth of this, because now it's the fastest growing crime there is, international crime, human trafficking, but more than half of human trafficking, these people are put into sex slavery, sex trafficking, right? In Denver alone, the economy of the sex trafficking industry is $40 million. And I believe in Atlanta, Georgia, it is $290 something million. Worldwide, it makes $99 billion a year trafficking people. And they can sell, most of the people are women and children, and they sell them for about like $90 generally is what they sell them for. And then they keep using them, and it doesn't just happen where the kids or the women are in the home. It happens where they're performing sexual acts on these kids, abusing them, and then putting them online. And so the abuse just continues and continues. And so that is the landscape, and it's not, most of the people who are caught as traffickers are not men. Because what's happening is they're abusing these girls. They've been abused their whole lives. Some of them are unfortunately still stuck in that, and they become the traffickers themselves. So the point now where this man right here in Florida, right here in New York, has young girls, ages 12, probably younger, 12 to 14, going out and recruiting their friends to come and give him a massage that they would be paid for. And then you get the finder's fee. So where in society, I mean, even with R. Kelly, like his situation, these girls knew, like, they were helping him out, and no one was like, the moms and the parents that were involved weren't fighting back. Like, these people, hello, welcome to the show. These people these girls were part of the problem because of whatever mental bondage, slavery, pain, hurt, brokenness that they were going through. Like, what are the signs as a mother of a teenage girl or a preteen to let you know that your child possibly might be in danger of finding herself to be a victim of one of these situations? Like, what does that look like, right? And I don't know that anybody's really done the research into that to say, oh, this is how you know your child's getting caught up in some other things. I mean, obviously, one clear statistic is that the kids run away, right? And so if your child's run away, obviously there's other issues around that. But what if the child is in the home? Because these girls, some of them, I'm sure, was just going right back home like nothing happened, right? And so as a mother, I can see, because that is my my clients that I work with, the mothers of teenage girls, I want us to have this conversation, because we think that it's just, oh, she's struggling with her boyfriend, or she's having bad relationships with her girlfriend, and I want her to make the right choices with her body. Of course we do. I don't want her having sex before she's ready. I don't want her losing her virginity. I don't want all these different things happen, but there are other threats around your child, around your daughter, that is so glaring in the news all of the time. I mean, the fact that things like R. Kelly can happen, the fact that now Jeffrey, who had done these things years ago and probably still is, because he still has these photos of these underage girls, that somehow that we need to not be super weird vigilant about it, but be aware that the popularity and the ease of access to young women, to young girls, that somehow children having sex appeal is for sale, and it's so easy to buy now. And I don't want this like blanket fear of like, well, I can't ever let my daughter out the house because she just might fall. She'll walk down to the store and might fall victim to becoming sex trafficked. No, absolutely not. Or she might hang out with the wrong friend. That is always a possibility, that she would hang out with the wrong friend that would say the wrong thing to her. But it all depends upon what you have instilled in her, how deep and strong your relationship is with her, the level of brokenness that exists in your relationship with her are all determining factors of when you would be made aware or when you would be alerted that something like this is going on, and how do you avert it? How do you protect your daughter from being a victim of somebody like Jeffrey Epstein, right? I don't know if it's Epstein or Epstein. I'm just gonna call him Jeffrey. How do we make sure of that? How do we stop that? I have pulled up some stats here. Let me see here. Yes, so yeah, it was $40 million in Denver, the economies, and then $290 million in Georgia, for how much money sex trafficking is making in U.S. cities. But there was something else I wanted to share with you all, and I'm on the thorn.org website that's focused on stopping, preventing abuse, child abuse, and child sexual pornography and all of those things. And let me see if I can pull it up here. So, for example, when child pornography happens and they post it, right? The people who are producing that content, 18% of them is either a parent or a guardian. 25% of them is produced by a neighbor or a family friend. And then the content that's stemming from online enticement is 18%. And so where you're live, I can't even. I don't want to imagine, but it's something so sad that we have to face. 78% of those type of videos and this type of media and this type of pictures that are going around, 78% of them are of children who are under the age of 12. Right? Now, I am your sexuality coach. I'm all about getting you free in it and getting you understanding that God desired to give us sex for pleasure, and there's different types of sexuality. There's genital sexuality, there's social sexuality, and I taught you guys those things. I'll keep saying it, okay? I'll keep talking about it. I talked to you about it last week. But there is I would be incomplete in my messaging if I didn't share with you the dark sides of this when it comes to children being exploited and abused sexually. Number one, because that's part of my story, and most, if not all of the women, probably like one or two of them that I haven't talked to, most of the women I have spoken to, this is part also of their story. And so that's why it can be, and I talk about this in the book, that's why it can be very difficult for people to really accept and say, yes, let me celebrate sexuality, because there's so much brokenness of it in our society, and so many, especially as women, how we are victims to the sexual desires of men, and there's no age limit. I mean, the people on these videos, this child pornography, from our ages 0 to 18. Babies are on this stuff, okay? And it's not just women. Young boys are also being exploited and abused and all of that. But my focus as a coach in my signature program and on the show, and just generally with the book and everything as an author, is women. And so when we see that when there's not an understanding of God's view of sexuality, there was not an understanding and acceptance of knowing the true beauty of what he meant, and we keep it to be something that is hidden and secret. Once you start to hide things, and once you start to bring things like behind closed doors and do all of that secrecy stuff, that's where the enemy is able, when he's able to isolate not just you, when Satan is able to isolate a conversation about an entire topic like sexuality, right? When he's able to isolate you and make you feel like I can't talk about these things out loud with people or share what's going on. Many of the times, the reason why kids don't share that they've been sexually abused or molested is because as parents, right? Now I'm not a parent, but I'm saying like my parents for sure, we can't talk about it. And so if something were to happen to me, or like it did, or something were to happen to a child in a home where sex is so hush hush, of course the child is not going to tell you. And my point with the enemy, Satan, making everything such a secret to be had, conversations only to be had behind closed doors, is that when you have something hidden like that, you are creating room for brokenness. You're creating room for abuse, right? When we don't know the purpose of something, you'll hear this, I don't know if you've heard this, I hear this all the time. If you do not know the purpose of something, it will be abused. If I do not know the purpose of a hammer, or if I don't know the purpose of a blender, and I'm using the blender as a hammer, I'm abusing the blender because I don't know what the purpose is. And so as a society, and I'm not going to blame the church, but in certain kinds of ways, as Christians, as kingdom people, we are the salt of the earth. We are the ones who are to show truth, to speak truth in love. And so when we have hidden sex, to not talk about it, to shy away from it, to make it like, oh, no, can't talk about that. That's only for adults, right? That's only for this. We can't talk about it. And all of the secrecy around it. Look at the Catholic Church. Look at all these things that are happening in society. Because we have not been able to speak truth into it, because we've been treating it as if it's a sin and put laws, all these rules, like we talked about, right? We talked about last week, and that's something we didn't mention. The more rules you put around something, the worse people are going to interact with it, right? And I'm not blaming the church and saying it's the church's fault that people are getting sexually abused and molested at all. I am in no way saying that. There are real demons out here. There is real wickedness and darkness in the earth. I am in no way saying that. I am saying it's become difficult for children, teenagers, to have conversations with their adults or their guardians in their lives, because we have not received good direction from the pulpit on how to approach sex, not as a sin, not as don't talk about it till you get married, but to approach sexuality, because sex is only a part of sexuality, right? We haven't spoken about it. And my concern, which is why I built this program for mothers, is at that time, the greatest influence a child has in their life are their parents. And we have mostly these days single parent homes, right? Single moms. There are single dads as well. Single moms having to juggle to provide for their family and to be a leader in her home, so that and then having to make sure that she's guiding her child in the right way as a young girl. So maybe number one, she doesn't repeat the mistakes that her mother made, right? Mom doesn't want to see history repeat itself in her child. Nobody does that. I mean, not bad history anyway. Like if mom was bomb, of course mom wants to see the daughter be bomb. But if mom made a lot of bad, hurtful decisions out of brokenness, of course she doesn't want to see her daughter doing that. But then she has a struggle with time. She has a struggle with the messaging, like Anna was sharing with us the other day. Like she's getting so many confusing messaging from everywhere, and she doesn't know how to speak to her daughter. Now, I built the program for mothers just like that, right? It's a signature program called Right Her Way. And that is why I'm so passionate about it, because there is this break that's happening in the person that can help. We're not giving that person the help that they deserve, which is the mom, right? We're not giving the help directly to the parents who have the direct influence on their child, because we've put sex education in school and given the school the authority to teach our children about sexuality, and then we try to like teach them the right way by sending them to church, but the church isn't talking about it. Mom's confused, dad's not really sure what's going on. And so that's just generally, what I really I wouldn't say watered down, but just a really pure, uncomplicated version of what most homes are going through. And then you add this extra layer that there are threats out there. Not only do you have to navigate your own understanding, your own history, your own traumas, your own brokenness to be able to speak to your teenage daughter, now I have to navigate these threats that are out there. How do I talk to my daughter? How do you have the conversation after a story like this comes out? How do you sit your daughter down? How do you know? Maybe you can have all of the right tools, right, to have the right conversation, but how do you know that your daughter would be telling you the truth? Hey, Lorraine, how do you know that your daughter would be telling you the truth if you have not been able to build a relationship with her that, as far as her sexuality is concerned, not in general, my job is not to teach you how to parent your kids at all. This is my area of expertise. This is my area of specialty, sexuality. So when you start to have conversations like this with your teen daughter or your preteen, a lot of my clients are working the program and wanting to be a part of it in advance so that their children don't end up in situations where they're having to catch it when it's too late, in a sense, right? And so what ends up happening is, like, what if you were to talk to her, but because in that area of the relationship, you have not been able to establish an open, free, transparent conversation with her. One of the things that I hear a lot is, I don't want to tell her these things because I don't want her to repeat my mistakes. Like, if I tell her my mistakes, she's going to go do them, right? I have a webinar, a free webinar for you if you're interested, where I go through and explain all of those things for you. If you're a mother of a teenage girl, let me know, put it down in the comments for me, and I will send you that link to watch that free webinar from me to you as a gift for free, absolutely for free. So, what ends up happening is that you don't have the tools. How do you know she's gonna be honest with you? How do you know, like, maybe her friends haven't come up to her and said something similar? Because it doesn't have to be the billionaire going over to where they're going over to the billionaire's house, right? It could be an older boy in the neighborhood who is giving them whatever it is, free liquor, free alcohol, weed, lets them ride around, will take them places because he has a car. Like, it's very superficial at that age, right? It's like, what can I do that my parents won't let me do? And so if you let me do these things, there's a trade-off, right? And, older boys, I'm talking about 20, 21, 22 in the neighborhood, that may have these young girls that are in very similar fashion recruiting their friends to go over to this house to find themselves in situations where, they're given a massage, right? Because that's actually one of the business models for sex trafficking, this massage business that Jeffrey was doing. Maybe they go over and the older boy's house and his uncles are around. There's like so many different situations. I want to bring this home to you, not to scare you, but to let you know, like, I can help you. Number one, I definitely want to help you. I can help you walk through this. And you let me know if you want to work with me. Just send me a direct message or put a comment in the inbox, and I'll send you that free webinar for you to get you jump started going in the right direction, because I want to help you right now. I want to bring this home because I feel like a lot of times we hear it in the news and we have opinions about, this is what's happening in the news, and we forget that you live in a community of people with all kinds of different people, that these situations are very possible to be happening in your home, not in your home, but around your home, with young girls that are friends of your daughters, right? When the whole thing happened with what's his name, with R. Kelly, we made it about, R. Kelly's been doing this for years, no one said anything, and it was really sad. I never watched the 4-part documentary about it. I think it was on WeTV, I can't remember. I didn't watch that, but I heard, watched all of the commentary around it, watched his explosive, hey Shelly, watched his explosive interview with Gail, right? And so I know that when all of that happened, everyone was like, yeah, we saw it, we didn't say anything. And it's just like, for the people who see it, why aren't you saying anything if kids, young girls, underage girls are being molested and abused by these men who have money, have power, have influence, that it's the people around them that create this atmosphere. So R. Kelly's not going to stroll down your block and come and get your daughter. And so maybe because you feel like it's not going to happen, you're not going to have that conversation with her. No, Jeffrey Epstein is not going to pull up on his private jet into your neighborhood and get your daughter, right? But there are people of similar brokenness as R. Kelly and Jeffrey, similar evil within them that causes them to reach out for some reason to find a child sexually appealing, that they would spend money, pay the girl either directly or pay her friends, like we see in this situation, to have them come into relationship with them, right? No matter what it may be through. So I want us to bring it home, and I want to help you to be able to have the conversation with your daughter. This is a perfect article to have the conversation with your child about the dangers or the red flags when it comes to situations like this. What do you do when your friend tells you? I mean, it could be like a simple no, like, no, I'm not going to do that. It could be that as well. But the kids are not going to say, hey, you want to come with me so that this guy can sexually abuse us? Like, they're not going to say that, hey, do you want to make like some money real quick? It's super easy. Right? And so there's so many different messages and different ways of persuasion that could get your young teenage and preteen daughter into a situation where she finds herself. Like, look at the girl, the young woman now who was underage then, that's with R. Kelly, that's now actually completely refusing, last that I checked in, completely refusing to even go home to her parents. So there's all kind of like brainwashing and all of this stuff that's going on. How do you know? How can you be sure that your daughter, your teen daughter, preteen daughter, or your nieces and nephews that are in your family that you love so much are not going to fall victim to all of that? And if you have a comment about that, if you want to drop an answer or a question in the comment box below, please let me know what your thoughts are on that. I can say a few tips for you is to right now begin having conversation with your children. You can have little mini sex talks. It doesn't have to be this huge, let's sit down and have a sex talk, the birds and the bees. I know most moms of teenagers and preteens don't want to talk to them about it because they're like, oh, those kids know more than me. No, that's not true. They don't know more than you. They know the acts, the physical acts maybe, but they don't know more than you when it comes to relationship and the effect that it has on your soul and your spirit. They don't know those things, and maybe you're sitting there thinking, well, I don't know them either. Well, girl, I'm here to help you. You just let me know. Like I said, drop a comment in my DM, or drop a comment right here. I have built and created a signature program just for moms who have teenage daughters to navigate this area of their lives, to make sure you set them up to be successful women in the future, to avoid pregnancy and STIs and all the different brokenness that we as women are living through right now that we didn't have to, right? So have mini sex talks with them, mini conversations. Articles like this, when things pop up in the news, talk to them about it, and don't talk to them from a place of where you have the answer. Talk to them from a place where you trust that they have their own opinions and they have their own thoughts about things. I think a lot of times where we go wrong when talking to teenagers is that they already have this idea like they know everything, right? And so we are always trying to prove them wrong that they don't know everything. And immediately it's a defensive conversation, and I'm not going to open up to you if your entire aim is to prove to me that I'm wrong, or your entire aim is to prove to me that you're the parent and you're smarter than me. Absolutely not. These are adults in training, right? And so if you were to approach them that way, okay, and ask them questions, or what do you think about that? Ask questions. How is it possible you think that young girls could fall for that? What do you think they got wrong, right? And have them talk to you, have them explain themselves, right? Share their opinion. And as soon as you start to listen and you start to value what they're saying, and you're treating them as the adults that they're trying to become, because as a teenager, your identity is forming, and what you're trying to do is separate yourself from the family so that you can be an individual. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That is just the natural order of how things are supposed to be, because like I said, they're adults in training. And so if you were to value that they have their own mind about things, that they have their own thoughts and opinions, I mean, you're sending them to school, right? They're in high school or in middle school, they're learning all of these different things, and we don't expect that they would have opinions about things when we're sending them to a place 8 hours a day to develop their mind, and we don't value their mind because we think they're just emotional, crazy people in the home. If you expect me to be that person, I will be that person for you. So if you expect me to be emotional, not understanding, think I'm a smart aleck and all these different things, I'm going to behave that way. But if you treat me as an adult in training, not that you're trying to tell me what to do, because by this time, most of their brain formation by the age of 12 or 13, their personality is pretty set. Now it's just lessons that they're going to be learning to try to, as we grow, where we adjust, but really who we are is who we are, right? And so that part of them is set already. And so what you're trying to do is be that guide with them as they experience life through these different lessons, and then you kind of like as guardrails kind of help them along the way, but you're not in front leading them anymore. That stage of their life is over, right? So what I help moms do is come alongside of their daughters, learn how to talk to them, and also major issues that we have in relationship with teenagers as moms is that I haven't healed from my own brokenness yet. And I don't know if I were to say something, I'm just going to be passing along that brokenness to her, right? So I don't want to have this conversation. I'd rather the school talk about it. Whatever the school's going to tell them, it should be right, right? And that's not necessarily true, right? Because nobody else should be teaching your children about sexuality and sex and the way that God intended it and the glorious celebration that it's supposed to be, and also teaching them about the dark sides and how to avoid those things and how not to be vulnerable to those things, and how to have the right responses when conversations like that come up, how to be who you are, and not allow your conversation or your behavior or your friend circle put you in a situation where you might possibly be getting sex trafficked. And I don't want you watching this right now and my replay viewers to be thinking that these kids that would solicit other kids to be sex trafficked look a certain way. That's not true. So it's not the bad kid who has tattoos at a young age or is like really goth or whatever. It's not that. When you see these victims and these things that are happening, it doesn't have a look. And that is something that could be very scary, but I see it as something that's very good, because that way we're not laying assumptions onto certain types of little girls that would be the ones that would fall victim to this issue. Like, we're seeing all little girls, possibly as possible victims, but we're not just seeing them as victims, we're seeing all of them as those deserving of being protected. That's why I see it as a good thing. So I don't want, my intention is not to have like moms start going through their their daughter's friend circle and say, you know what, I don't like that girl, she looked a certain way, or I don't want you hanging out with her, or I don't want this happening. Absolutely not. It does not have a look, okay? It does not have a certain appearance. It does not. So when you are looking at your daughter's friends, having conversation, knowing their parents, having those kids come over and actually valuing their friendship and getting to know them for yourself is the best way to determine not only like I'm going to protect my daughter from crazy people, but if she has friends in her life that could possibly be victim to these things, you can protect them as well. And so it's not this like, I need to protect my daughter from having crazy friends. She's made decisions of who she wants to be friends with. Now, if the person is like extremely dangerous or something, I don't know what the thing is in my eye. I keep saying it, but I'm like,